Okay, I wanted to show you my document thing that's based on Markdown. Um, Here is just a directory. You can actually go here on my Snippets site, and it's got a lot of stuff that I wanted to technical stuff I wanted to document and have AI produce the content. I think DeepSeek did this, and this is for AccuDraw, a Bentley thing. But each one of these little areas here is done in both HTML and Markdown. You can see the Markdown version, the HTML version. They're here where it's more formatting there. You can see significant difference. This is easier to edit, especially if you want to have a lot of control over it. HTML looks nicer, but ultimately it's saved as Markdown. If you look inside the file, you will see that it's just a bunch of text areas, just basic little text boxes that contain this raw text as Markdown. And then these files, these JavaScript files, turn it into the prettier version. But just to show a little bit of how this is used, let me drag a new file over here. This is just blank. You can always start with an existing one, but here's just a blank one. Nothing in it. You can look inside. There's nothing but the JavaScript, no text areas, nothing. But I can add a new section. I can name it something creative like that. And then I can go to, say, let's say, go to the ChatGPT output and grab some content. Let's grab some with some code in there. We'll grab all this and just put it on the clipboard. Come back over here and paste. And you see it pasted it with all this formatting. It put some junk in there. But if I go to Markdown, you can edit it wherever to get rid of that junk. Here, I'll just do it in the Markdown. It's probably easiest. Get rid of those things, come back to HTML. It's all cleaned up. Did I lose a number one? No, I don't think that was there in the first place. So I can edit it on either side. I can edit it here and go, put some junk in there, come over to the Markdown. There it is. Do something different, come back to HTML. And the cool thing I can do, and I'll show you this. Notice that I can collapse these. I can check that little box, which I'll show you what that does. In a second, it's probably easier to show it on this one, where I can uncheck several boxes. And I can also notice that it's easiest when it's collapsed like this. I can drag them around to reorganize them. All this, of course, is created by AI and made this whole little system. And then I can say copy selected Markdown. Now, when I do that, that means I can, let's see where my other view is here. I can grab this window here and I can, let's go to do a brand new fresh prompt on Google and paste that Markdown in. Markdown works great as a prompt. You will notice that Google's especially good. It will show it nicely formatted. See it? This is how it's going to show my prompt and how it presents it to the language model. So whatever it says, that's obviously I should have put a prompt that says something about it there, but it's looking at all the stuff inside, and it's great for these long things where I want to keep a whole bunch of stuff and I want to have options for which part do I want to include in this prompt. And I can also use it for all kinds of other things. For instance, right now I'm having to do a court thing having to do with Stella, and here I've gotten the response, and then I put in the old decision, and I ran it through Claude, and I just kept enhancing this and repasting it into different language models. It's amazing for that. So yeah, it's just, I use this all the time. Just paste it in there from something. You can clean it up simply by round tripping it through Markdown. I probably should have it so it just automatically gets interpreted as Markdown. You will notice that it does Although I wrote this, most of it with AI, the actual markdown conversion to and from HTML is something that I included from a library that ChatGPT or whoever told me existed. So enough on that. It's a really nice thing. You can go to snippets.accudrawdocs. I'll send you a link to that if you want to just grab one of those to begin with. And I forgot to say what I can do with this. I can say save to HTML. This is so cool. So I can just save this. We'll call this random string of characters like I like to do, and save it to disk. And that has all this stuff in it. In this case, it's just one, but you could see in that HTML file, it now opens with that. Again, if I go and look at it in, if I can do a view source, I'm not sure why it's not doing view source. Let's go through here, view source. You will see it's got just a bunch of text areas, or in this case, just one text area with a title, data title, and that's why we'll type in title, and then all that as markdown, and it will show it as HTML by default, but you can always toggle back and forth. Really cool to use. And of course, all that stuff, I think I showed you toggling, resorting them, and toggling them is only for copying to the clipboard. Anyways, super cool thing, really handy, and I use it daily, really. So next, I want to show you my music project. Now, this only works or works best on a phone, so I hope you will use it. Snippets.org/music game. Again, I'll send you a link. I have not tried it on an iPhone. Works great on my Android phone. It works better on a phone than here, simply because when I play notes on it, it will it does things like glissando. You can slide over the keys. You could tap with multiple fingers. You can't do that with a mouse. Not that that's really important for this game, but it's still nice to have that. And it looks best in vertical format. So if you do look at it on a computer, just slide your browser so it's vertical. I think it'll work horizontally, but it's just stretched out a lot on the piano. Notice that it shows 1 octave approximately, and this piano will slide, and you can pick it to be in a particular key. You're going to see in a minute why. Here it's in the key of E. You notice that some of the white keys and some of the black keys, at least one of the black keys in this case, are disabled. They don't do anything when you click on them, but these do. And it uses my color scheme from Glow Tunes. That's not super important here. I like it, but you can pick any key. And you can also pick just any key, which just means all of them are active. And you'll see that makes it harder for the game, because if you're restricted to a key, that's basically there's going to be 5 active notes, I think, instead of 10. Because, well, there's technically 7 versus 12, but 2 of them are not going to be ones you're going to be picking because they are the ones that were shown to you. Also, the instrument, bunch of choices of instruments, got a cool animation. I can, vibraphone or electric guitar. Even some, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Even some fun ones. And electric piano is a really nice one, I think. Especially at low volume. That and vibraphone are better at low volume. Piano's just generally nice, so I'll do this with piano. Let's start over here. I'm going to click. I clicked this thing to go back to 0 out of 0. I have been asked 0 questions. Now I'm going to say play notes again, as if I'm starting anew. So it's going to show C, D sharp, and a question mark, and it shows it here. C, D sharp, and then what was the third note? Well, you have to listen to it, so let's listen. So that sounds like it's down here somewhere. I can play these. I can play 1 and 2, and it doesn't penalize me. But the third note might be... What is it? It's that one, G sharp. So let's do it in a particular key, and I'll show you it's a lot easier. And it also sounds better if it's in a key. So it's your choice if you want to do it in any key where you're just picking from a larger number of notes, and they may sound, out of whatever, not consonant. But here in the key of E, it's these notes. And it's going to slide the keyboard as it plays. We've currently got 1 out of 4 because I tried a few times and got them wrong. So I'm going to say it's probably, what, that? No? There it is. So, Jack, you can probably do this a lot better than me because you have the ear for it. Although I've practiced pretty well, and when I do it on the phone and when I'm not trying to make a video, I can do pretty well. I get about 75% or more. So let's just play them again. I'm going to play 1 again just to... So it's... Is it one of these? It sounds pretty low. I'm going to say it's this. That's the one. So again, I got 3 out of 8. You could do this all day long and you get better at it. Or at least I do as someone who's not very good at this. Let's try that again. Probably this. And I think it's fun. I've done a lot to make the graphics really nice, although I think I could do a little bit more up here. Let's do marimba. Okay. And I would strongly suggest, if you've got the time and if you're just bored sitting around have your phone there, do this and see how well you can do. I often go up as high as 100 tries and just see how well I can do at it. And it takes practice, but I get better. Of course, it's easiest if you want to, like for a kid or whatever, do C major. That makes it a lot easier. Not necessarily easier to guess, but it's often, I'm going to say it's that, okay? So it's not necessarily easier, but it's easier to just see it and you know what the root note is, which is, of course, important. Okay, enough of that. I hope you'll try it. Let's move on to something else. Okay, I mentioned test harnesses, and let's see what I can do here. This is one of many, many things that I worked on was, let's see, this probably looks better in a wider view, but I'm in vertical mode here on a browser. I can get a SVG, I can drop it in and do stuff with it and express it as numbers. I can translate it. This doesn't really look good when you can't see it here. Let me make it small. Okay, this is much more reasonable. You can see I can click a point here. It's supposed to show that point. It doesn't show that anymore. Here I can rotate it, translate it, and it's expressing it as these work well because I do code. I do JavaScript code that has SVGs in it. I'm going to be doing musical symbols, and just having them this way is really nice. But it's both a test harness and just a utility. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this into a utility. I have a few others. This one where you can drag things into it, you can scale them, you can do all kinds of stuff. I actually think this is kind of becoming obsoleted by that other one, even though this is a little slicker in some ways. It's, you can have multiple things in there. Usually I'm only going to want one of them while I'm doing this thing. I don't want to make a full SVG drawing tool, but this is the kind of stuff that, Google Gemini did this, and it just does pretty sophisticated apps like this. What was the other one? Okay, here's my calculator. This is something I had wanted to do for a long time. Let me put this back up to regular size. Wanted to be able to say like I don't like regular calculators that are, styled after the ones you hold in your hand. That doesn't make sense to me. Notice I can put parentheses here, and it will match the parenthesis out here. So even if I do 2 parentheses there, it's just going to put 2 out here, and it's going to consider that a valid expression. You will notice here it shows, of course, as decimal, but it'll show it as within a tolerance. I think I usually want to delete one of those. That's basically the tolerance of the numbers we're working with. So it says, oh, that's 157 and a fifth. Need to format that a little better. It'll go up to very large denominator, 500,000. But if I want to say 5.312, it will, show me it as a fraction, 4.5 with everything I type, and I can just string long expressions together. I can also do, let's say I say 1212. Now it's out of 50,000. That's because that's, out of 100,000, it's a decimal, so it's unsurprising you have a round denominator there. But let's say I add ... It's going to look for the repeating pattern. It sees 1212, and it's going to repeat that over and over. And it's going to here show it as a repeating pattern, 4545, repeating. It found that. And remember, it's doing this kind of as a hack. It's looking at the string output and then looking for a pattern within it and trying to figure out if it looks likely to be an actual repeat, because this goes on for a ways where it says 454545, and if it's got enough repeating to not look like a coincidence, it's going to show that as repeating. Here it's going to show it as a fraction if it's within a tolerance, and here it's obviously that's the real accurate fraction. That's not just an approximation, because it wouldn't be accurate to that tolerance if it wasn't. So I could say 5. Oops, there it's that's here again. It's repeating because these turn out to be real fractions. It's that big a fraction, but still comes out repeating. This is really useful, I think. This is just kind of what I wanted in a calculator, and it's the kind of stuff you can just crank out in no time. But I mentioned test harnesses. I think for the calculator, let me show you a little bit of what I mean by test harness. So the calculator's all put together, but I also needed to figure out how to balance parentheses. So I had it do this one, and I had it create a bunch of, and it was getting some of them wrong. So I had it create a bunch of examples and then solve them and then feed that back in, and it was able to fix whatever bug it had where it got certain cases wrong. It was able to find the wrong ones in here and fix them. So that's kind of neat. Then sometimes I get carried away with making them pretty. I said a dark mode with warm colors. And here's for the repeating pattern detector. Here for 1/7, you can see that's the long expression, and it figures out the repeating part. 1/11 has 09 repeating. Notice it has to trim off the last digit. It doesn't want to look at that. If it sees that 1, that's going to throw it off. So it always trims off the last digit. I also have something that has big numbers, so it can have these be like 40 long or something. It'll be a little slower probably, but you can see that works. It does the trick. And then I thought I had a fraction calculator thing. Oh, here's the big number math. Yeah, where I can do, and this one I got a little carried away with the appearance of it. And let's see, we're going to bump that up to 32. We're going to pick an example. Okay, tiny number. Okay, that's the high precision result. It's got that 1 in there that is missing there. And it just built this for me. With sine, pi, whatever, you'll see, okay, yeah, I guess that should be 1 exactly as it says. But this is just a nice little test thing to be able to figure this out. So here, high precision result, very, very small number, but all those things are missing in the standard result. So I can use that in my calculator if I want to. I haven't built it in yet. So that's basically the concept of here's the repeat expand. So I'm doing repeats in two different ways. If I have an expression up here and I want to do it to 20 places, and I want to say 4.2323 ... it will expand that into this. So we'll see that there's a repeat there. If I just say 23 ... and expand it, is that going to work? That's actually going to fail when it tries to do the calculation. It's not going to be able to go the other direction with it. Anyways, that's that. What else do I got? Rickroll. This was something for my video syncer, another test harness. I just wanted to have something where I could have a YouTube video and get all this information from it and time these events that are playing during it. That's like my music player, and then have a logging box, and it'll just do stuff. Oops, I didn't mean to go to YouTube. I meant to just play it, and you can see it does stuff. When it gets to certain times, it fires off these events. It has accurate whatever in there. So anyways, that's neat. Back to my piano project. This is going to a test harness, piano test harness. This is where I need to be able to draw a piano and tweak it and see that it works in an environment outside of the actual app. So if I want to have all these different things that it's able to do, that I can then, I don't have to tweak these in the app. That's a lot more just awkward to test things. So here I can do it outside of that. I can adjust the padding in the, these are all done with SVGs, which is a expertise of mine, I guess. Also, the way the geometry of the piano keyboard is kind of tricky. And I can do it either with the sliders or with an editor like this, same information. And then I can go to, let's see, Piano Plus. This is the one that has the color and some of these are not what I'd expect. Let's see, that's, I can adjust all the glowiness, all the border shapes, in addition to the things I could adjust with that other thing, which is a simpler, I made a piano SVG thing, and then I made separately the thing that enhances it to do colors, to do events. When I click on it, it handles all the complicated events you can get in a touchscreen app, and I can adjust all these different things. A lot of them don't show up until you click on them. I can change the display time so that I can capture them better. I can even say save SVG, which will save it out to a file if I want to look at it that way, or just more convenient, just open it in a different tab if I want to look at it separately, maybe analyze it like this, where I can really see what's going on and debug stuff. So that's a big part of, for me, coding with AI. You got to break things down like this. And even these little things with the sliders and the editor, those have their own little test harness, just to be able to test them by themselves, and then I can drop them into other test harnesses. And it makes it so you can build complex apps without them getting out of hand. You build the separate things in different places. Here I'm working on speech recognition. For instance, I can have it recognize my speech, and I'm testing how it comes in. You could see duplicates where it's constantly figuring out what I'm saying and going back possibly and fixing things. For instance, I can say, did you see the U2 concert? Oh, I got it right the first time, I think. It didn't say YouTube or but sometimes it does that. And you'll notice, let me clear the display. Look down here. Oops. If you look down here, you can see it does some other tricks. This is the final output. So I can have a comma or a period, or I can have a literal comma or a literal period. And I can do things like that with question mark or literal question mark if I want to spell it out. And I can say, for instance, back up 5 words. Oops. Delete 8 words. Okay, you see what it did. It's got a bug. It left words in there. I'm not sure why it did that. Delete 20 words. Delete 10 words. The point is, it can do a lot of things like that, and I want to use speech recognition for some all kinds of stuff I've got in mind for that. I like being able to explicitly say comma and period and have it deal with that correctly. It comes in here as just the word, and then I look for that and replace it with the punctuation, unless it has the word literal before it, and it looks for things like delete 8 words. It'll figure that kind of stuff out. There's various tricks you can use to have it edit things on the fly. I haven't gotten too far with that, but this is the test harness for it. This is something for my newest project where I just wanted to be able to show the files in a nice tree, and just like, I think day before yesterday, I did this thing and did it with a nice animation. It's on a test harness, so I can say, test all its little things. I want to have a dark mode. You can see it does that, and I can do all kinds of different things. I can add nodes and things like that, but just to get that nicely animated thing, took me a while to get that right. Had to start over, and after it was going down the wrong path and kept messing up the animations, but I'm pretty pleased with it now. And I can, while you could probably find a library that does tree view things, it's probably overly complex. I just wanted one that does what I want and does everything that I want and not a bunch of stuff that I don't want. And it'll fit into my projects better. And it's so easy with AI. This is for my Bentley project. I needed a squircle. Let's make this smaller. Oops. Something that transitions between a square and a circle and all the intermediate things. And this one's done with arcs. You can kind of see the arcs here. I can color them to show you what it's doing. It becomes 8 equal arcs, or, here it becomes a very, very big radius arc and a very small radius arc as it goes to being a square. But this is a nice little test harness that just shows where the centers are. You can turn that off, of course. You can just look at it the way it's eventually going to look. While I was working on it, I needed to show the arc parameters, sweep and large arc, all that kind of stuff that's a lot easier to do out here. And I've got this other version, the first one I did, which was a different way of making it, which is not with arcs, but with Bezier curves, which are, well, they're these things. You can see they're technically 8 of them also, but they're 8 like this instead of one big arc here. So I'm basically just controlling these points, these 3 points for the corner. These ones stay the same, but as you can see, as I go from circle to square, oops, that's a little weird. I think that's only in combined paths mode, I think. Yeah, there, square. It probably just draws the square as a special case, but everything else is done with Bezier curves, which are defined, each one is defined by 4 control points. And, it's just got all the nice things that I need for this. I use it elsewhere, but I wanted it in a mode where I could just test it. And what else do I got? The finger sliders. These work well on a phone. If you go here, you can drag these with your fingers. You'll be able to adjust where they are, and they're going to be color-coded and connected to on-screen controls on your computer. So you're controlling your computer from your phone to control variables that are, you can imagine this in, recording studio software. Also in CAD for drawing stuff. It's really nice to be able to control up to 4, maybe even 5. Some other things can be on there. You can adjust where they are geometrically to best match your hand. This is for presumably your left hand while you use your right hand on the mouse. And it'll be pretty handy. And I think that's an invention in its own right. I think that's all for now. I want to show you my 3D stuff. My 3D stuff is really, really powerful, stuff that I've been building, but it's, that's a little beyond the scope. I also want to show you my project editor. I'll just show it very briefly. This is where that cute little tree is going to go. I can, but you can see this is actually the code for the tree, but you can see I have all my JavaScript files, but they're broken down into sections. It's gone and sectioned them off. It's used a library that does that, not my own code, but it breaks down the JavaScript and figures out what everything is. And you can, it's probably better on, again, this is a new thing, so it's very incomplete, but it's very powerful because I can paste straight from ChatGPT or other language models into this, and it will know where to put all these little sections, so I don't have to go into a text editor and paste them in individually. So there's more to this. There's a lot more to this, but I'll just show you that for now. But this is like what I call structured vibe coding, where you can code very easily. If you're not a coder, I do not write any lines of code anymore. I speak in English to it, but I do at least organize my project and tell it how to organize the project and tell it how I want output so it will work well with this. I have prompts set aside. I do use my this tool for making those prompts, the ones that I want to plug in and say, okay, use this library, use this thing, do things this way, and copy it as Markdown, paste it in, and then start my project, and it works a lot better. So that's it. How long did I go on for? A while, but I hope you enjoyed it. See ya.